Welcome back to MCC. It's second time today, isn't it? Yeah. Sometimes it can be 3 times, can't it? Hope everyone's okay. I'm just enjoying the little bit of sunshine that we've got for the last 5 minutes. There's another big cloud on the way, I can see. I'll just wait a couple of minutes, see who's going to join us. Hopefully I can control this properly while I'm doing this. So among others, Becky has asked me to do a little talk on HFCS, or High Fructose Corn Syrup. So I just thought I'd share my kind of limited knowledge on the subject. It's something that I looked into a good few years ago now, because a couple of my friends and my brother actually were diagnosed with diabetes some years ago, and it seems to be a very, very common thing these days. So I thought I'd look into what's perhaps causing it, and among other things, what was identified was high fructose corn syrup. It's not as simple as this thing causes that. But it is a contributing factor, I'm sure. So I thought we'd talk about it. Okay, so where to start? What is high fructose corn syrup? Basically, it's derived from cornstarch, as the name suggests, and starch is what we call a polymer of sugars. So here's the structure of starch. There's 2 forms of starch. Oh, you forget something. There's amylopectin and amylose. And these are polymers, and each little section there you can see is a sugar. And a polymer is basically a chain, and the sugars in the chain are the individual links. So you get a very high, what they call molecular weight, because it's just lots and lots of links joined together like a chain. The one link on its own is very heavy, is it? And you join them all together, and a steel chain can be extremely heavy. So one form humans are able to digest, the other not so much. And I'll just zoom in and hopefully get a close-up of what they look like. So there you go, that's a zooming in. You can see individual links in the chain, which are sugars, in this case glucose. And when cornstarch, in starch, pectin and all that, amylopectin, it's all glucose. So that's what they start with, and then it goes to a factory. Switch that off, so I'm back again. Hi Lisa, hi Debbie, hi Anonymous. It's difficult to tell who's who in it when they're not logged in. Where was I? Yeah, so they start with corn flour, and it goes to a factory, and they basically digest it partially. This breaks it down into shorter polymers, shorter chain lengths. And the reason they do that is because it makes it water soluble, because starches don't tend to be, and B, it's a lot easier to handle in that form. So they can pump it around factories, pipe it, put it in a tanker, move it around, all that sort of thing. So it basically just makes it a lot easier to handle and a lot more versatile to use. So there's 2 processes. First one, chops up the chain into shorter lengths. And this is what they call corn syrup. So that is then a mixture of short chain, very, very short chain bits of starch that are left over and individual sugars. Then they treat it with an enzyme which is called glucose isomerase. And what this does, it transforms it from glucose into fructose, which is again another sugar. And it's fructose is what is in fruit. I think it's from the Greek. It means fruit sugar. So it is a natural sugar, but this polymer they make isn't in nature. It's a mixture of fructose and glucose in a polymer chain with also 3 individual sugars all floating around in this soup, this syrup. Again, it's done like that to make it easier to handle. Also, the higher fructose content makes it taste much sweeter, because glucose on its own, if you've ever had glucose sugar, it's not as sweet as, say, sucrose. So it's all about convenience, shelf life, processing. That's the reason this stuff is used, and it's cheap. It makes it a lot cheaper. There are also other natural polymers like this available, like pectin, which is something humans can't really digest. So that tends to just pass through. That's another polymer of sugars. As I say, the starches. Because the starches are such a big molecule, our enzymes can struggle a little bit to get at them. This is why in the natural state, when you eat starch, it takes a long time to digest. And this is the problem with the HFCs, which I'll come back to later. So we get what they call complex carbs, and this is the reason why they also call the slow release, because all this process takes time, and your body is actually set up to do that, and it can cope with that nicely. So your starches aren't a problem. And funnily enough, normal sugar isn't so much a problem unless you have loads and loads of it. Yes, so there's a couple of oops. Why has that done that? There's a couple of schools of thought on why high fructose corn syrup is a problem. It's been linked with causing diabetes, liver dysfunction, all that kind of thing, which again I'll come back to. One school of thought is that it's because it's got a lot of fructose in it. Now, this doesn't make sense to me, because fructose is a naturally occurring sugar. Our bodies are set up to deal with it. When you eat fructose, it's metabolized by the liver. It's not like glucose, which you can absorb straight into your blood. It has to be processed in the liver. But there's natural things out there. Fruit is the obvious one, and honey also contains about the same ratio, weight for weight, as what fructose to glucose, as what HFCS does. And yet honey, we've been eating it for millions of years. It doesn't cause us a problem. Our bodies are set up for dealing with it. Now, there's a good reason for that, which is my school of thought, and a good few other people. The other school of thought is that the problem with the HFCS is that it is still a polymer. Now, it's not a big enough polymer that your body takes ages to break it down, and it's not small enough units, individual units, that your body can deal with quickly. It's in the middle. It's not a natural thing, and it's not something our body is set up to deal with. So I'll try and illustrate what goes on when you eat this stuff. Where are we? Just bear with me. Why is that switching on and on now? So that's at the beginning. Technical problems. Unknown user says, isn't pectin what they use to make jam? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the thickening agent for jam. It's a natural like sugar polymer, starch type. Oh, anonymous is me, Lee. Ah, okay. So what I've got is a couple of things here that hopefully should be able to illustrate things. So if we can pretend, can you see the colours there? We've got pink. If we pretend pink is fructose, and we've got blue. If we pretend blue is glucose. So in your body, these are floating around, and glucose is the one that your cells use for energy. Can't use fructose. Fructose has been metabolized in your liver into either glycogen or glucose. And so if you imagine these are one link in the chain, if you put a fructose and a glucose together, which is what a lot of plants do, one of each joined together, that's sucrose. That's your normal sugar that you eat, your table sugar. So it's just one discrete unit of one glucose, one fructose. So when you eat that, we have an enzyme. It's in our mouths and it's also in our small intestine called amylase. And amylase is like basically a bit like a pair of scissors. So you eat your sucrose, along it comes. In comes amylase along the chain there, and snip. You end up with one fructose and one glucose. So if this happens in your mouth, what tends to happen then is you either swallow it, obviously, or it can permeate through straight into your blood stream, and your body can start using it. Your cells will take that up. This one has to go to your liver, where it's metabolized, like I say, into glucose, or it's stored as glycogen, which again I'll come back to, which can be a cause of the problem. But in itself, fructose isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a good source of energy. So yeah, and we've got the other polymers, like the glucose polymers, the glucose syrup. Amylase will come in on each one of those and snip, snip, snip wherever it can get in, and it'll undo all those and release the glucose into your bloodstream. I've had to make notes here because it's such a big thing to talk about. It's so long ago since I looked at it all. I've had to refresh my memory. Yeah, so when you eat a normal sugar, it's quickly broken down into those two units. And what this does, it creates what we call an insulin spike. So you eat sugar, goes into your bloodstream. If it's fruit, if it's sucrose, it's split into one of each. So you can find the pictures here now. Oh, sorry, yeah. Is that paused now? Yeah, this is the process, sorry, yeah, of how HFC is made. So as you can see at the top there, you start with your cornstarch, treat with enzymes and heat and chemicals and amylase, and that breaks it down to these dextrins and maltodextrins. You often see those in ingredients on packets. They're basically sugars again, with short chain polymers containing sugar. So, but they're not actually compelled to call them sugar as such. So if you see a sugar content, it's not necessarily counting those in with it. So the important one there is glucose isomerase in the column there, and that's what transforms the glucose sugar into the fructose sugar. So you end up with a polymer like that. So what you get is fructose, glucose, fructose, fructose, glucose. Basically that sort of thing. So there's a slightly higher ratio of fructose to glucose. It's usually 55%, which is about the same as honey. Now the reason honey is fine and the reason normal sugar is fine is because when you eat it, this is what happens normally. It's released into your bloodstream, the glucose, and that then prompts your body to produce insulin. It recognizes the high sugar level, so it produces insulin, and this tells your cells to start uptaking sugar. And what the main way this is done is by what are called gluts. These are inside your cells, and they're basically like a courier. They'll come up to the outside of the cell, pick up the parcel, which is the glucose, and then take it inside off to your mitochondria, where it's used to make energy in your cell. And again, I'll come back to the guts again in a little bit. So in normal sugar, with it being discrete molecule, it's not a polymer. Glucose is released, all the sugar is used up, and the insulin follows the spike. So more sugar, more insulin, less sugar, less insulin. So that's what you call a normal sugar spike. It's a perfectly natural thing, and that will happen when you eat glucose, sucrose, or even fructose as it's transformed into glucose in your liver. So that's perfectly normal. So what makes HFC so bad, like I say, is with it being a polymer, not only does it have polymer in there like that, it still has the free units as well. So it's a mixture of these. So you've got your free units, glucose, fructose, and you've also got the polymer, so it's all a big mixture in this syrup. So with it having the free units, what happens when you eat it? You guessed it, you get your insulin spike. So that as the free units are used up, you get your normal insulin spike there at the beginning. But not only that, this stuff is still there, this polymer. So what happens? Along comes your amylase, your normal natural enzyme, and it goes snip, 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 snip down the chain. Now it's a linear, short linear chain, so it's very easy for the enzyme to get out of this. So it tends to unzip it quite quickly. Plus, all these chains are all different lengths as well. So you can imagine what's happening there then. Not only have you got your initial insulin spike from your sugar, your enzyme comes along and it's snipping these off, it's releasing sugar, releasing sugar, releasing sugar, releasing sugar, releasing sugar, again and again and again and again, as it goes down the polymer chain. So your sugar level in your blood isn't dropping, it stays high. So your body keeps producing insulin. That's the problem. So your sugar level remains high for a long time, which is very dangerous, as diabetics will tell you. And also your insulin level stays high as well. So this also is bad for you. It produces other effects like insulin resistance. Insulin itself, as I've been shown, it can actually damage nerve tissue and small blood vessels, just as sugar does. High blood sugar can damage nerve vessels. So this is when the damage starts occurring. So instead of your normal insulin spike, like that one, this is what you get. Oh. Where's it gone? So you can see, if the blue is the sugar level in your blood, the pink is the insulin. It goes up to a peak and it stays there. It can stay there for hours. So you've got a situation inside your body where this sugar is just going around your system for hours and hours and hours, and it's just building up. So what does your body do to respond to this? It tends to desensitize your cells to insulin, because the insulin is there all the time. The gluts inside your cells start to ignore it, and this is what they call insulin resistance. So even then, if you eat just like a normal bit of sugar, it'll stay in your bloodstream because your cells, the insulin isn't telling your cells to take that sugar up. So it just sits there and it builds up. It's all like a cumulative effect. Another effect of that is on your liver. You've got all this fructose being released too. So normally your liver can deal with, like the normal insulin spike, your liver can deal with a spike in fructose too. So it produces enzymes that transform it either to store it as glycogen, or it changes it straight away into glucose and releases it back into your blood. But again, because of this polymer being unzipped, it's continually releasing fructose into your system, and your liver has to deal with that then. And one of the things that's been shown, when there's an excess over time of high fructose in your system, your liver starts to convert it to triglycerides, and these are the things that, this is your bad cholesterol, and it can also damage the cells in your liver, this, because your liver is working all the time, it's never getting a rest. Same with your pancreas, if it's pumping out insulin all the time, it can burn out, and that's been proven that your pancreas, the beta cells, I think it is, in your pancreas can burn out. Another effect of the triglycerides is a fatty liver. So it's one of the things they tell alcoholics, that a fatty liver is bad, and if the fat is left around for too long, it damages the liver itself, and then it scars, and it can't regrow. Then once it scars, it can't regrow. Your liver has a fantastic ability to regenerate itself, but once it scars, it can't, and that's what they call cirrhosis. So liver damage can be caused by something as simple as having all this sugar knocking about in your system. Your liver also tries to cope by converting the excess into glycogen. A glycogen is like a natural energy store, and your liver can hold so much of it. But again, because it gets desensitized, the glycogen store is continually renewed, and it then has to be released so it can be renewed again. And this is what they call metabolic syndrome. So you've got all this glycogen in your liver, and then when you go to sleep at night, your liver releases this in the night. So again, your blood sugar goes up because it's glycogen, it's broken down in your system into sugar. So this is why they test your resting sugar level in the morning. If it's elevated, it's usually a sign of metabolic syndrome because of this, what's going on in your liver. Yeah, so it's not very nice stuff, really. The kind of things. I'll tell you what. Let's just have a look at some comments. Lisa, this is very confusing. I always thought fructose as a natural sugar was okay, with it being in fruit. Yeah, but you're saying it's harder for the body to process. It's not that it's harder for it to process, it's just all your cells in your body use glucose, they don't use fructose directly. So in order for your cells to use that energy, your liver has to convert the fructose into glucose. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's you know, we've evolved in this environment. You know, it's something we've been doing for millions of years, our bodies and other creatures. It's just this stuff is an unnatural thing. We've not evolved to cope with it yet, and this is why it's causing problems. Is the sorry, I've forgotten the word, the scissor bit, is that like an acid to break those down? It's an enzyme, Lisa. It's called amylase. It's an enzyme that your body produces to break down sugars. I was just going to ask, because I have non-alcoholic fatty liver and an excess of folate. Yeah, there's a lot of foods that can be linked with fatty liver. Yeah, and meds as well. You know, it's there's an example of it sat opposite me here.
Yeah, medication and stuff.
Medication can cause stuff like that. Too much fruit could actually be an issue for some people. I imagine so. I mean, I live by the philosophy that too much of anything is good for nothing. But it doesn't tend to happen with a reasonable amount of fruit. Again, the example I use is honey. It's like a syrup honey, but because it's composed of, it's not a polymer, it has glucose and fructose in it in roughly the same proportions as what is in the HFCS, and that doesn't bother. Obviously, if you get tons of it, yeah, it will, but in normal, reasonable amounts, it doesn't seem to cause a problem, honey, because it's a natural thing. Your body's set up to deal with it. Your body doesn't know about this stuff. It's new, and it deals with it in the best way it can. I don't take any meds now, but pretty sure it was the meds that caused it. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm asking because Paul eats a banana each day. His diabetic nurse has told him that that's a bad thing, which we disagree with, as it's the only sweet thing he eats each day. If he thinks it's good for him, you know, he's better off carrying on the way he is. I don't know if he's type 1 or type 2. I'm just on about that. I'm using the HFCS as an example of something that's been linked to causing diabetes and among other problems. It's type 2. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to recommend anything because I don't know, but I'm not a doctor. But as far as I'm concerned, eating fruit is fine. You know, I eat fruit myself. Something I would be wary of is fruit juice, because I think you do get a massive sugar hit from that, and it's already in solution. So it's absorbed more rapidly by your body. Whereas if you eat the fruit itself, it tends to be, the sugars are locked in, and your body has to break that down then, and it takes time, slow release. Which brings me to another point, actually. What HFCS tends to be used in is soft drinks, which is like a double whammy because it's already in solution. Your body's just able to get at it straight away and start breaking it down. It's used in a lot of processed foods. It tends to be exacerbated as well in the processed foods by other things like trans fats. These have been shown to again interfere with the uptake of sugar into your cells, like I was saying before about the GLUTs, the messenger, the courier. What the trans fats do, again, because they're an unnatural thing, they don't really exist in nature, although they're very similar. They've been shown to coat the outside of cells, and because your cells are made from like phospholipids, which are fats and things like that. And because they look similar, your body places them in a similar spot. But these tend to coat the cell then, and they stop the GLUTs from getting out to the surface, so they block the sugar getting into your cell. So again, the sugar stays in your bloodstream. Lee says I wasn't questioning you, Matt. No, it's fine. Question away. You know, like I say, I'm not. I'm just basing basically, you know, research that I've done over the years. Like I say, it was good a few years ago when I did most of it. But my advice is to stay clear of it. Better safe than sorry. I don't think it is the fructose content itself that's causing the problem. I think it's the fact that it's these short polymers that are in the syrup. Yeah, so yeah, your processed foods, soft drinks. Well, soft drinks have got a lot to answer for. What's happening here? I just completely lost where I'm up to. Dean says I must be lucky one. I have allergy to apples. All right. Can I eat them or drink apple juice? I get a reaction. It makes me sick. It's unusual. Lee says he doesn't have fruit juice unless we're at Premier Inn for breakfast. Again, it's moderation. So you're fine with a bit. It's just that if you have a big glass of fruit juice, you're getting the equivalent of something like 10 oranges. If it's orange juice, obviously, but it's a lot. You wouldn't sit down and eat 10 oranges, would you? Apple pips are cyanide inducing. I think they do contain traces of cyanide. Is that right? I think they do, yeah. It's only a tiny bit though, I think. I don't think it'll do much to you. I believe it tastes like almonds. Fruit squash in this country is a nightmare because they insist on adding sweeteners to everything. Yeah, that's it. And they'll put artificial sweetener in as well. I'd say best getting the freshly squeezed one. If it's from concentrate, I tend to avoid it. There are things you can do as well. Well, I think so. I think I've covered everything. Yeah, so I just made a quick few notes here on what to do. Avoid the trans fats if you can. Avoid HFCS. Look after your liver. You can do this. There's things like milk thistle that I take personally that help your liver. I think they do recommend it to alcoholics as a way of combating fatty liver and all that sort of thing. The other one is NAC. I'm not actually taking that, but that has been shown to have kind of regenerative effects on the liver to a certain extent, but I wouldn't rely on it once the damage is done. Another one you could possibly try if you are diabetic, or at least look into thinking about trying it, is something called pycnogenol. It's a very powerful antioxidant, and it prevents helps to prevent nerve damage and damage to blood vessels caused by high sugar and insulin in your system. And it's actually been proved that there's evidence to show that it protects your eyes if you're diabetic, the tiny blood vessels at the back of your eyes. So that's one to look out for. It's a pycnogenol. Debbie says fructose and trans fats are problems for kids with ADHD. Now I see why. Yeah, I sound like a broken record. It's like everything in your body tends to run off a balance, and there's checks and balances in your system, and when it tips, your body can kind of nudge it back. But if you tip over, you go past the point of no return, kind of. So too much of anything is good for nothing. I think there's quite a lot of seeds and things like that produce cyanide.
It's one of the ways they break down to start sprouting, isn't it?
Yeah. Cyanide is a very good thing in chemistry for what's the word I'm looking for? Transforming other chemicals. So it tends to be present in a lot of the seeds because they do undergo a lot of changes when they're growing. I think bluebells have a lot of cyanide, don't they? And what's the other one? The starchy one. Sago. I think that's got quite a lot of cyanide in there. It has to be treated quite a lot to get rid of it. This says if you're told you have an issue with fatty liver, can the damage be reversed? It's like I said, yeah. I mean, it can regenerate your liver, but once it scars, it tends not to be able to. And the scarring is usually formed as the liver damage repairs its damaged cells.
You can definitely reverse the fatty liver.
Yeah, you can reverse it.
Good diet.
So yeah, don't give up hope. You can reverse fatty liver. Lisa says, can you write down the 2 names of the products you mentioned other than the milk thistle? The video is blipping badly and keep missing. All right. Is anyone else getting a bad video?
No, it's fine. You just type it in the comment box and go if you want to do that.
I can do it, can I? I think I've spelled that right. That's the antioxidant pycnogenol. Yeah, the other one is milk thistle. There's lots of other things you can take that are good for your liver. I believe nutmeg is one, but again, only in small amounts. Nutmeg, if you take a lot, it can damage your liver. It's funny how things work.
It's the same with how like your meds tell you that they can cause side effects of what they're trying to treat. It's exactly the same in nature.
Come on, really? Okay.
So,
Eh? Right. Okay then. If no one's got any more questions, I shall probably sign off. I hope you found this useful in some way. Again, yeah, just to reiterate, I like to say fructose is the problem, but unless it's in a massive excess amount, I don't think so, because it is in fruit, it is in honey. I think the main problem with the HFCS is it's a polymer and it's got glucose in. So yeah, and it causes this insulin spike that just doesn't end. It just goes on and on and on, and that causes a lot of problems. I think you tend to be able to see people with insulin resistance. It tends to build up around your it's kind of like in the folds of your skin, around your neck and places like that. You get like a darkening of the skin. That is, do you reckon it's due to the insulin that's just hanging around? And it starts doing things it shouldn't do. Yeah, so I mean that's my advice. Just stay clear of it if you can. I know it's in a lot of stuff, but it's not a natural thing, and I don't know why they use it, other than the fact that it's cheaper and more convenient. Okay then. A couple of people saying thank you. That's fine. No, yeah, I hope it was interesting and helpful in some way. It's a massive subject, and we've just scratched the surface again, really, haven't we? It's I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but as an outline, I'd say that's the problem with HFCS. Okay. Oh, now you want to come on?
No, I just wanted to say something. I just think, it really does make a difference understanding what's going on in your body. So when you're eating something, it does make you think twice about eating it. You know, if somebody says to you, "Oh, you shouldn't eat chocolate; it's bad for you," you kind of go, "Oh, shh," and eat it. Whereas if somebody says to you, "That bag of sweets that you've got there has got, high fructose corn syrup in it, and this is what's going to happen within your body when you eat it," then it does make you stop and think twice about it. When you can't, it's almost like giving you a doorway to what's happening within, and I do think it's really important.
You can't see what's going on.
Yeah, that's it. We can't see what's going on inside us, can we? So you illustrate it so very well, and it's really helpful.
Try to.
Clever boy, aren't you? He's a clever lad, isn't he?
Me blushing again.
No, it is. It's really helpful, and it's really, we're in a really fortunate position to be able to draw on your wealth of knowledge. So I know I sing your praises all the time, but I do think it is, especially for HLP, when we are, looking at what we eat and we're trying to better our future bodies. That's the aim of HLP. It's not necessarily about losing weight or maintaining or gaining, even, whatever your end goal is. It's about, if we get this right today, then our future body is going to thank us, and that's what we're kind of concentrating on, and just having these insights into what we're actually doing to ourselves. We know if you pick up a pair of scissors and sort of like go like that, we know that that's going to do damage to our body. It's going to hurt, and we know kind of what's going to happen to the healing process of that. And the fact that if we did it badly enough, then ultimately, it could kill us. We know that, but we don't know enough about what we're eating and what we're putting into our body and what that can do internally to us as well. Lisa's thinking about our cells as soldiers and our body as a barracks. Help me visualize how what I eat feeds my cells and allows them to work, fight, exercise, protect, etc. Oh gosh, do you know what? Absolutely. I'm the worst one for this. In my head, it's like numbskulls. Remember the numbskulls?
I don't remember numbskulls, but I remember George's germs.
And I absolutely
You don't, do you?
Bring everything to life. I used to do it when I was a kid. If I ate something, if I didn't want to eat all my dinner, I would have to finish one piece of something. So say I had like sausage, chips and beans, I couldn't leave half a sausage because it wouldn't get put back together in my tummy, and it'd have half of its body missing. And I've just always done that ever since I was tiny. But I picture the food that we eat as it then needs to go out on this transportation system around my body to the cells, and the cells of the villages, and that's what that little village has got to survive on. I think it really is important.
We are literally what we eat, aren't we?
Oh god, yeah.
Especially when it comes to things like protein and minerals. It's literally what we're made of, is what we put in our mouth.
Yeah. definitely.
Yeah, I'll say it again. Like we've evolved in a certain system, a natural system, with foods around that our bodies have been designed to cope with. And when you bring something new, that your body just goes, oh, what do I do with this? Just cope with it in whatever way it thinks best, and it's not always necessarily the best outcome. It's an unknown. It's they don't have a rational thought. The chemicals in your body, they just react to a change in the system.
They're like little cavemen, aren't they? They just like prod something. Like, oh, I don't know what that is.
If it can react with it, it will.
Yeah.
Basically, so that's the problem with the enzymes. They're doing their job. They're unzipping that sugar. Oh, this is my job. This is what I do. And that's what they do. Bum, 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 bum. It's just that in that food wouldn't normally occur in nature, so it'd do its job and then it'd stop. But because it's there, it just carries on. It's not got a mind as such. It's basically a large chemical blob, an enzyme. It'll just carry on doing what it's doing until something tells it to stop. And usually what tells it to stop is the balance and checks that we have. Like I say, they're not there when it's something different, because there's no check for it. It's just like when we introduced rabbits into Australia, there was no balance, no check for it, and they just spread like wildfire. It's a similar kind of situation.
It's the same as you think the first time somebody handed somebody from Britain a coconut. I went, there you go. Oh, they could imagine I'm really, really thirsty. Here you go, and hands them a coconut. And they'd be like, what the blinking heck do I do with this? I've never seen one of these before. What am I meant to do with it? And that's kind of what our body does. It's something that it's never seen before.
Even then, if you drink too much coconut milk, it gives you the shits.
Yeah.
But if you don't know that, you wouldn't know. You just carry on drinking.
Yeah. Oh, this is a nice, refreshing drink. Get me some more once you'd figured out what it was and what to do with it. But yeah, we're not set up to deal with so many things that are in our food chain now. It's like
it's bad enough. I mean, what we think of as fresh fruit and veg, the way that's reared, and then on top of it, there's all these other additives that go in processed food as well. It's no wonder your liver is under constant assault. Oh, I'm going out of focus.
Lisa says my body is quite confused with all these allergies. Lisa's Googling Picnic Channel, and it's also showing me pine bark extract. Is it the same thing, or is Google being stupid?
I think that's where they get it from. The Picnic Journal is a concentrated form of that, I think. Yeah, I think that's where they get it.
So you just got me some, didn't you?
Yeah.
I took my first lot last night. So it's been poorly.
It's supposed to help with asthma, pine bark. Teresa says, I'm thinking of growing my own vegetables. Yeah, we do. We try. The soil around here is
and
not
then
very good.
they all get eaten by slugs.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not the world's best gardener.
Well, it's not even that, is it? It's just like we must live on top of a slug's nest.
We're very high up where we live. It's deceptively high up. The soil's quite poor.
And we're just surrounded by slugs.
Yeah. It's quite boggy, isn't it?
It's not good. But no, Mark, your lives are really, really interesting, and they're really helpful. And you explain it so much better than I do. So yes, we shall chuck another subject at him.
Thanks.
He says I have a ton of snails and brick walls are bad for them. What, launching them at them? I love all living creatures, even spiders, which I am not fond of. I still talk to and I'm kind to, but the only two that I cannot abide is slugs and wasps.
Well, wasps will probably kill you.
Yeah, that's because wasps try to kill me because I'm allergic to them. But slugs,
I'm not a great fan of flies, although they are necessary, I suppose.
Yep, there you go. Wasps and slugs are pure evil. Especially if you tread on a slug and you've got bare feet. That's not nice.
I used to do that all the time where I used to live.
Not nice at all. Oh, you're allergic to them as well, Christine. This is my garden has low brick walls and they live in there, all flying slugs. I couldn't touch a slug. We occasionally get them in the kitchen, don't we? Oh, that drives me insane.
I don't know where they get in. Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, it's through the drain pipe in the sink." It's not. It's totally sealed. That I don't know how they're getting in.
No. But they can squish themselves down into like nothing practically, can't they? So they can get in through anything. Tree says my dog tries to eat flies. Bailey,
he does, yeah.
Bailey tries. He never succeeds, but he does try. Bless him. Anyway, we're going to jump off because I've got to nip out very, very shortly.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah, and I will see you tomorrow at 11 for more packing. So don't forget, if you are placing an order, to join the live tomorrow, because if anybody says hi to me whilst I'm packing their order, then I will put my little present in. Lisa says I have one come up the washing machine drain. Oh, I don't like them.
Oh, that could be possible.
Well, I don't like them. Anyway, we will see you all tomorrow. So
all right,
take care, guys.
Care, folks.
Bye bye.
See you soon.